Good day, everybody. Mr. Rosser here. Today we're going to be exploring some aspects of editable polys, in particular in relation to using splines. Some of you in my classes have been wondering how on earth do game designers and animators build complex things like cars. Well, you're going to learn the basics on how to do something like that. So first of all, what you're going to need to use is the spline tool. You're going to want to go from the Create panel over to Shapes, pick a rectangle, and let's just draw a simple rectangle here on the grid. So there's just a real simple rectangle. And so what we're going to want to do is make this where it's actually filled in. So make sure your rectangle is selected. And then you're going to want to right mouse click on it. And when you right mouse click on it, you want to go all the way down to the bottom where it says Convert to and say Convert to Editable Poly. And it should fill in that rectangle that you just drew. If you're having trouble seeing it, you want to make sure that if you're on the wrong setting up here at the top, see if it's on bounding box, you're not going to get it filled in. Hidden color will kind of show it. Default shading might. I like using edged faces. If you're on edged faces, it will show the rectangle filled in. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the edge setting. So when you go to the Modify panel, because remember we converted it to an editable poly, so if you go along the top here on the right, you'll see where it says Modify, and you see where it says Editable Poly. When you look down, scroll on down, you have these options with these interesting shapes, like these three dots, this triangle, this this Pac-Man looking symbol, the polygon, and the element. You'll want to click on the one, the triangle says Edge. What'll happen is click on Edge and then go over and click on the edge of your rectangle. Okay, and now it's kind of hard to see, but that actually turned red and selected the right side of my rectangle. Select the Move tool, and remember how you make copies of objects? Remember how you hold down the Shift and move the camera the way you want it to go? Make sure you have the edge selected, hold down the Shift key, and move the Move tool the direction you want it to go, and I'm going to move it along the Z-axis. Now see, I just made a little wall. Now I can keep doing that. See how this edge is selected? I'm going to hold down the Shift key and I'm going to move it to the right. So now you see how as I select the edge tools, I'm going to select this one over here and move down to the right. You see how I'm able to move the polys around where I want them to be. I'm able to move the rectangle wherever I want it to be. So your options become limitless as far as what you want to do. So I can move this over to the right just slightly and make a small rectangle. I can move it down, make a smaller rectangle. Now I want to show you something cool here. Okay, see the small rectangle I built? Okay, I'm going to select over on the right, I'm going to select Polygon. Then I'm going to select the one I just built, and I'm going to copy that. Make sure you're selected Polygon, that you're not still on Edge. Make sure you're on Polygon. Select that polygon, that rectangle. And then you're going to want to, once that's selected, you're going to want to move that over. And see how I just made a copy, just like we've done 100 times with the primitives. It asks me if I want to name it. I say sure. Okay. Now, do you see how there's this gap between the two polygons, the two rectangles here? Now watch this. I'm going to select Edge again. I'm going to hold down the Control button. And I'm going to select the edge of this one. It turned red. It's kind of hard to tell, but that turned red. And I'm going to select the edge of this polygon. Again, make sure now you're in the Edge tool when you select those edges. And if you're in the Edge tool, now you scroll down and you get this list of selections under Edit Edges. I'm going to select Bridge. Boom! Look at that. It bridged the gap. That's a handy tool if you're trying to bridge gaps and things of that nature while you're building things. So this lets you build elaborate shapes, and you could trace the outline of a car or a house, and this gives you a lot of flexibility in what you're going to build. And each one of these polygons becomes editable by itself. Now I want you to see something here. I'm going to take this polygon now and I can rotate it however I want to rotate it. See, I have a lot of flexibility now with creating different shapes and designs. I can go back to edge. And I'm going to select I'm going to get out of rotate. I'm going to select the edge on this one. I probably need to select that poly. There we go. Then make sure the edge is selected. The shift button's held down, and there you go. And you can just keep right on building. So the idea is this makes it limitless as far as what you can build and what you can do. So I want you to go ahead and experiment with this and see what kind of interesting shapes and designs you can come up with, and see if you can build something interesting. A house, a boat, an airplane. Just have a little fun with it. See what you can do.